Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. About 4 months ago, I revealed that I was seriously testing 3 Vevor branded flex shaft motors. So over the last few months, I have sunk quite a number of hours into all 4 of these pieces of equipment, just alternating between them. My classic Ozito, the one that started the channel, has been running for, I don't know, well over 5 years. Still going strong today. The Fordham knockoff version, a fairly lower powered flex shaft grinder, and then a super high powered flex shaft grinder. And I did a video where I did an unboxing and initial impressions and talked about the sound levels and all that kind of stuff. Basically just started them up, had a quick feel, had a quick look at them, said I would come back and reveal the one. So unfortunately, I will be saying goodbye to the Ozito. I'll probably keep it and frame it. If I go back to doing live streams and stuff, it'll probably be in the background because I owe a lot to this $150 tool. Back when I bought it was under 50 bucks. Today I could walk down the street and get a new one for 55, but unfortunately it is just been shown up as not being up to par with. Honestly, all 3 of these are probably better than the Ozito. I'm not a huge fan of these 2 here on the right. So from that, I will announce that the winner is the Fordham knockoff. Even though it's a knockoff, this thing is an absolute beast in all the right ways, and we'll go into why exactly. But I will just give a quick mention to all of these and why they're a little bit subpar compared to the Fordham knockoff one. Hopefully one day I can get a real Fordham and put this up against it. In terms of this one, this is the easiest one to dismiss. So this is the Vevor super high powered one. You can see here it's a 780 watt motor. It unfortunately, it's not the speed or anything because all of these are speed adjustable. This one is just too strong. I could see it maybe being useful for something like maybe wood carving, something a bit gummy, a bit chewy, something that the bits get a little bit stuck in. But for stone and opal work, this is way too much. The chipping on using any of the sintered diamonds is brutal. It's not great. Price-wise, it's not that bad. It's actually cheaper than the Fordham knockoff, but yeah, twice as much as the Ozito, and a little bit more than the low-powered Vevor. All in all, I had high hopes for this, and it turned out to be a bit of a dud. It's also super loud. The speed control, I mean, you can see there, it's got a huge range, but controlling that is not as easy as the others. It does really kick on. When you start it up every now and then, you might actually start it so fast that it pivots and twists itself up on the stand. It actually made one of my stands collapse. So I've jerry-rigged a much stronger stand that could hold all 4 of these, and they've been hanging up the whole time, but unfortunately this one will no longer be hanging up. That will be going off screen, never to be seen again. Now the other Vevor. This guy is just too weak. The Ozito rating is actually a little bit less. This one sits at 380 watt and it does not feel like 380 watt. I don't know what it is, maybe it's the quality of the motor, it's just not there, it's just not cutting it at all. And at 72 bucks, this one is probably the least value for money. It might be the cheapest one they offer, but it's certainly so far from the best that it's just not worth that $72 price tag. There's probably plenty of alternatives, such as just getting down to your local hardware store and getting a rotary tool flex shaft. It's just not there. So really that's the only drawback to this one. 72 bucks, it is going away. The Ozito, my beloved Ozito. Less than 50 bucks when I bought it. Unfortunately, though it's perfectly fine, and I think for a beginner it's a great way to get started, especially because you can just pick it up from down the street. The problem with it is the adjustment here. If you've got wet hands or something, it's not the best, and it's also just a physical dial. You have to remove your hands from it, whereas all of these other pendant motors, they're all foot pedal controlled, which has its pros and cons. You might not like it, you might really love it, like I've become a huge fan of it compared to the old physical dial. This poor guy is getting really weak. It gets bogged down, especially when slicing. It is a real struggle to slice sometimes, especially for big chunky bits of boulder. It does get a bit grippy. If I zoom into the tool here, you can see it's only 170 watt. It's a tiny motor. You can just tell by the housing of it. It is just not up to scratch. It will go fast enough. It will go slow enough. That's perfectly fine, but it's just not strong enough. It just doesn't have the guts. Also, after all this time, I mean, you can see the battle scars. That's a bit of a boulder opal that's been on there so long it's baked in. For 55 bucks, it is still great value. I'm sure other brands make them as well. I know the Dremel ones have really dropped in quality, but if you've got an old Dremel, they're actually probably much better, but I am saying goodbye to the Ozito. I'm not happy to say that, but it is time to say goodbye. The more I switched between this and any of the other three, but mostly this one, when I swapped between these two, it was like having a really bad day and a really good day. It's a huge turnaround. It is just so far below, and 55 to 96, I would well and truly pay double the price of this Ozito for this Fordham knockoff. So why is that? Let's get this off screen and let's focus on the good guy. So if you've seen Fordham motors before, you'll notice that the label and everything is very similar. Unlike the other three motors, this one has one really distinct feature, this switch that you can see up here. So this isn't an on-off, this is a off, a forwards and reverse. Now, I didn't know if this would be overly useful, and I've got to say, it's incredibly useful. How I've actually been using this mostly is in reverse. Now, why is that? In reverse, if I'm holding the handpiece in my right hand, we'll just pretend this is it, the burr itself is actually spinning in this direction here. So it's coming up and down. So this face being rotating straight downwards, it flicks the water onto the stone, and rather than spraying up towards the camera, which it does often when I spin in this direction, the forwards direction, in the reverse direction, I don't get that splash at all. It's really a bit more of a camera thing, so I don't splash water up towards it all the time and have to clean it. But also, if we zoom in and I grab a stone, how about this one, because I recently did this one. If I have a stone and it's spinning in this direction, I can hold it in my right hand and it's scraping downwards. So if the face of the stone is facing towards me and it's going downwards, I get far less chipping. This is more important with the sintered diamond than the resin burrs. But if I'm going upwards, that's when you can get the chips getting into the face of the stone, which is something we really don't want. So I have to be far less cautious about that. The other thing with this one is I would like it to have a bit of a longer flex shaft, but it is long enough to drape all the way over my two shoulders and then all the way down my right arm and then hold it in my hand. It is a bit to get used to because the hand pieces, if I get one on screen, these hand pieces are chunky. They are not overly heavy, but because the flex shaft itself is quite thick and heavy, it will pull and drag and pivot, and that's something we can't deal with when we're carving. We've got to have it nice and free to move, unless you've got it clamped onto a clamp or something. If you are holding it and it's starting to drag and pull your handpiece away, that's just no good. So when you run it all the way down your arm, you don't have any of that drag. It's all resting on kind of your shoulders, and then it comes down to your wrist and it's resting on your forearm. It's much more stable. The other thing is it's an adjustable chuck. So you can fit a large range of bits in there, which you'd say is very similar to the adjustable chuck that I've used on my rotary tool. So you can get these for Dremels and Ozitos, all of them. You just need to make sure the thread here is the right size. The problem with this one is you'll get a lot of wobble in the bit. I've done plenty of videos on the wobble and how to fix it, but the wobble mainly comes from those jaws sliding down the outer sheath and pinching in a way that is just not great. So in this one, if I push it out like that, you can see it comes out. It pinches right towards the tip of those jaws. Now that's not a lot of contact surface with the burr, which is why it can get off center. With these ones, they are far more sturdy. You use your little key here, clip it in here and wind it down. These ones get far more contact with the shank, and I have not had a single bit start wobbling out of control. And I don't tighten it very much. I'll only tighten it finger tight most of the time. Even just tightening it like this without the tool is pretty much good enough. And it never wobbles. These are locked in. It gets a good grip all the way down the shank, and it just seems to center them perfectly. Something that the Colettes do really well, and the adjustable chucks tend not to do well. But this one actually worked incredibly well. The same thing goes for all three of the hand pieces that I've had on the Vevors. Not a single one of them have had a problem. So it seems quite consistent and quite reliable. Now in terms of the specs for this one, of course, in your country you'll probably end up having to get a different model. They do make them for different areas. I mean, this one does say 110, 220. So this one is also only using 1 amp. Now this won't matter for most of you, but I have a lot of things connected in the shed to the single power outlet. When I use this, I don't have too many problems. When I use the higher powered one, my speakers actually start glitching every time I press my foot down on the pedal and get it started, which I thought was pretty funny. The max RPM for this one is only 18,000. You might have noticed on some of the other systems, it's more like 35,000. For us, honestly, that's not a problem. It's too fast anyway at the max speed. I'm never going that fast. And that's pretty much it for this one, though I will mention a few of the negatives just in case they are deal breakers for you guys. So of course, it is a pendant motor. You need to hang it up. Just make a little stand for it, or you can buy stands. I've just made one. The warning here of do not change motor direction while running reminds me that not only can you not change the direction while it's still spinning, I'm sure that would do absolute wonders on the coils of the motor. But I don't know if it's just this model, it's the only one I've got, so I couldn't test multiple. The forward and reverse direction of the motor sound incredibly different. Now I might be able to insert a little video sample of what it sounds like in forwards. And in reverse. Now I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it is certainly different. And it had me worried at first, but I've now used this for well over 100 hours. And it has not smoked or popped or made any other funky noises. It just consistently sounds different between forward and reverse. So something about the motor, it is, I don't know if it's happier in one direction or the other, but it's certainly feeling a little bit different. In terms of the handpiece and the carving itself, I don't notice too much difference. I'll just ramp it up or down with the foot pedal and it seems to respond the same either way. It's just a sound thing, and even with hearing protection on, which I always do, I still notice it a lot. Now the other thing I can't comment on is the lifespan of this. So as I said, I've used it for over 100 hours easily now, but I don't know, I haven't done any maintenance in terms of replacing carbon brushes. I haven't done any shaft lubrication. I will do a video on that because I probably should just double check it and make sure it's still going good. But of course, I'm not going to be able to give an estimate on how long this thing will last because it hasn't died. And like my Ozito, who knows, this thing could live for 10 years and not have a problem. I can always amend my review and put out a post-death one if it does fail on me. But for now, I am quite happy with it. It's working exactly the same as day one, and it's a very good working. It is working incredibly well. I've just realized that the peel sticker is still on this back plate. Some people find that satisfying, but yeah, this is going to be the only one that I recommend from Vevor going forwards. So I'll put an affiliate link in below. It looks like a few people have already picked it up just from my first video, even though I did say that I'm not 100% confident on any of them. Now I am 100% confident that this one does beat the other two, and it also beats the Ozito. So for double the price, that's the only consideration. It is a bit more expensive. Everything comes with a kit of bits and stuff, like a sample kit. Yeah, for us, we just throw all of those in the bin. They are mostly for metal, they are mostly for wood. For stone, it just ain't gonna cut it. For stone, we get our sintered diamond burrs, all of that kind of stuff. You can check it out on the store at roysrocks.com. Even if you don't want to buy it from there, that's fine. At least you'll know what to look for if you want to go to your local shop and try to pick something up. So yeah, sintered diamond or electroplated diamond burrs, depending on your budget. And then yeah, your resin burrs, your sandpaper rolls. You can just cut and make your own sandpaper discs. Get some felt for polishing and a metal oxide of your choice or diamond paste, and you're set to go. Plenty of videos of that on the channel. Feel free to check them out. But that's exactly what I'm going to do now. I'm going to hang this one up. I'm going to put the other three in a box. And from now on, when you see a handpiece, you'll know it is this one here and that I'm finished with my trials. I'm also hoping to start using this one for polishing jewelry as well. Turns out you actually need to polish the silver once you finish the setting, though it's best to avoid all the major scratches in the first place, I'm learning. So have fun, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Catch you guys.